It's Dolly Curtis, and with me today on the phone is Bela Fleck, who's one of the finest banjo players in the world, and he's coming to Connecticut. Hi, Bela. I've been doing these radio interviews 10 years on TV before that, so I interviewed somebody who made Appalachian furniture, and he's a really good woodworker. And he said, I'd like to have Bela Fleck to open the show. And that's when I
Oh,
first, that was about, I don't know, 15 years at least ago, or 20 maybe. So that's what I did. And then I'm looking forward to hearing you in person so I can learn more. I mean, here you were
well, we can
born.
hope. We can hope for the best. We can
You
hope
were,
for the best.
you were born with all those names. What do they all mean?
Yeah, I got all these names. I got these names: Bela, Anton, Lajos Fleck, and my father named me after composers, Hungarian composers, and fairly intense composers. Not pretty music necessarily. But the crazy thing is, my mom and my father split up when I was one, and I didn't even meet him until I was in my 40s.
Really?
So I got all this sort of influence from these names, but I didn't get any from him, which it was probably for the best in the long run. So it's hard for me to explain it. But he had the decision. He had the choice to name us. I had an older brother. I have an older brother, and if it was a boy, he got to name us, and if it was a girl, my mama got to name us. And he won it both times and got to name us, and he named us these kind of thick composers' names, and then disappeared.
Yeah, but he must have been a musician then. Your mom and your father.
Yeah, he's musical. I think he tried. He wanted to be an opera singer. He was a real fan of classical music, and then eventually he moved into teaching, and he became a teacher of like Norse languages and dead languages and stuff like that. That was his specialty. But at any rate,
They laid the
it's more. I guess our story is more about his influence on me than the particulars about him. But yeah, there's an influence even though he wasn't there. And then when we finally met, it's been a complex relationship, but there was some peace there. And but meanwhile, I've got all these names, and then gradually I worked my way towards Bela Bartok and started to love a lot of the music that had been sort of in my DNA. And
It was
so
all
it's complex. Life is complex.
so Bela. It was all genetic, is what I'm telling you. That's how I read it. They laid it down, even though he was only there for a year, but they gave you the names that gave you the predisposition to do what you've done. I hear you've taken the banjo to great lengths that nobody else has. That's what I understand from my reading. People tell me you work with orchestras, you work with jazz. I mean, you've taken it from the bluegrass folky life that everybody loves to these other levels that nobody would have thought of. So it's great.
Right, that's kind of my niche. That's what it turns out that I was supposed to do, and I guess I seemed to know it pretty early. That's what I was supposed to do because that's what I've been trying to do pretty much ever since I started playing banjo. And largely, it's I think if you grew up in the '60s and you're a teenager in the '70s, the music scene was just so diverse and exciting, and our heroes in New York were the great musicians like Chick Corea or John McLaughlin, or even the Beatles, or Led Zeppelin. All these people that were constantly pushing every record was a big change from the last one, and you're supposed to change and grow, and you're supposed to make a difference. And so I always thought I should do that with the banjo, or at least try.
Yeah, you did. You have. And the future, too. So why the banjo? I mean, I read that you started school with the French horn, which I get a big kick out of, and that didn't work for you. So I've seen it before in my life where people are in the wrong niche, so they're not
Yeah,
doing well. And then when they get
exactly.
then they get in the
Right,
right.
they find their thing. All of a sudden, they start to rock. And
Yeah, I know.
it was like that for me. I heard the banjo when I was maybe 5, 6 years old, and I thought it was incredible. It was Earl Scruggs playing the Ballad of Jed Clampett, which a lot of people laugh about, but it was some very profound banjo playing. The banjo playing is no laughing matter on that jingle. It's so good, and it turned a lot of people into banjo players who were waiting to hear that sound, and I'm one of them. So at that time I was in Queens, New York. There was no reason for me to be have anything to do with Southern music or folk music or anything. None of that was in my family, but yet it just took a while for me to get a banjo because I would never tell anybody that I wanted to play it because I didn't really think anybody could actually play it. It sounded impossible.
Even down
And then
in
one just sort of
Washington
go ahead.
Square Park, didn't they all go down
Well,
there?
that scene, I wasn't part of that scene yet because I hadn't started playing. But it wasn't until I started playing that I heard about Washington Square Park. But that was pretty much over pretty much on its way out by the time I was coming in 73, 74.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, my grandfather gave me a banjo right before I started high school. So I didn't even start till I was just turned 15, and then boom, I was just like a slingshot. I was just gone,
Yeah.
and like running headlong into it, and I'm still obsessed with it and love it, and can't explain it.
Yeah, and your wife too, from what I read. So it's a wonderful thing because it's a little bit of genius. You have to understand, because I see it. One of my kids is a glass blower. He's been doing that since he's 12 and he's 47. There's a little bit of genius in people at some point you can't put into words. It's because passion. It's what gets them up and through every hard thing in life is this thing. Right. So when I was a kid, the reason I'm interested in you is I spent my summers in Bear Mountain, of all places. And Pete Seeger was living in Beacon. I guess he was living nearby because he didn't have any work at that time. I'm talking about the 50s. And I know now that he was blacklisted, and that's why he was hanging around these summer camps. And he came often to where I was. I was 12, 13, 14. So everybody, just loved what he did, and we used to spend a lot of happy hours listening. So that's where I've got my whole connection. And then after that, I went to Bear Mountain Square dancing like you and your wife, and he called the squares. I mean, that's what he was doing for money.
Right. Well, then it was brilliant because, here he got blacklisted, and then very quietly he built up his own new audience of kids, that all grew up and made him into a superstar folk artist, when the blacklist was over. So it was, I doubt he planned it that way, but it couldn't have worked out better for his overall, story. I mean, it was amazing. What an amazing cat.
He came, he'd spend a whole day, play music for 12 hours. We were all enchanted. And then like you say, then I've had a lifelong love affair with the banjo because of that.
Right. He's an ambassador. Not only that, people don't realize what a great banjo player he was. In the early days when he was more focused on the banjo playing, and then as time went on, he continued to be a really good banjo player, but it just wasn't his main focus because he had grander plans to reach people in a deeper way, and he knew the voice was the way to do it, and getting people to sing and speaking out and all these things that he was a part of were, banjo wasn't his main focus anymore, but he's still really good. But go back and hear the early stuff when he had that TV show, and it's pretty stunning banjo playing. Holy cow.
He couldn't even sing anymore in his last 10 years. He was talking it. He had his grandson singing, remember? He couldn't sing really, but it didn't matter by then.
Yeah.
And I
if you get to that point, you're an icon, and people are there just to thank you and be supportive and be happy to share the same airspace with someone like that. I felt that way about being around Earl Scruggs in his last days, and I had some time with Pete as well.
Pete actually was hanging out at that sloop club once a month in Beacon, and anybody who wanted to could come there and be part of it. So I got there a few times, which was great. And I also did a television show with him. The only reason I got granted, this is a good little story, and then we'll get back to you, is that I was there at the Howellbrook Drive-In when he was attacked in the 50s, I think, or the late 40s. It's called the Howellbrook Riots. It's in Lake. And so he told me, he came to Easton, Connecticut for a hootenanny. That's another, and I was there, and I saw his head I knew it was him from the minute I walked in this barn, and I went over and talked to him during the break, and then he told me, call me. So I did, and his wife didn't answer the phone. What's her name? If she'd answered the phone, I never would have talked to him, his Japanese wife. So we spoke for an hour, and he said to me, the most important day in my life, he said, was the day that I was attacked. I was in this open Jeep. I had two of my grandchildren with him and his father-in-law, and it was open on the top, and they were throwing rocks at him. Paul Robeson was the other person they were attacking, and I said, I know, I was there. And he said, that's impossible, you couldn't have been there. I said, no, I was there. And he said, you're too young. And I said, no. I said, I grew up on Hollowbrook Road. So I was on the other side of this drive-in, was on the other side of Hollowbrook. And my mom took all of us down into the brook. There were four of us. I had four siblings, and she was frightened. They had a lot of airplanes. Oh, this was a planned thing, this terrible attack. The people really, really scared him. My mom took all of us into the brook because she was afraid. And I was only maybe 7 years old, and I never forget it. And when I told him that, he said, you come and do an interview with. That's when he said, you must come to Beacon and Sloop Club and do the interview, because he was just so overwhelmed. And then he loved the fact I was doing this local show with no money and just about people. He liked that whole thing. So I love him. Yeah. So I'd probably love you too. Yeah. And also Doc Watson came to Bridgeport one time. All right. So anyhow, you started off on this kick, and now you've taken it all over the world. Africa, I read. You've been in Africa and did a film. I want to see that film. And that you did that a while ago. So what's the future?
Yeah. Well, the future, I think as long as I get to continue to collaborate with people that are inspiring and look for new things to do and get to play at the level that I want to play at, I think that's the future. I kind of have to redefine my goals, because I've been so fortunate so far to have achieved a lot of what I'd hoped for. And now I still want to be a better banjo player. I want to put myself in situations where I learn from the people I'm playing with. So to give you an example, over the next few months, I'll be doing duet concerts with Chick Corea, a jazz pianist, which is one place I learn a whole lot of music. I'll be doing some concerts with Zakir Hussain, an Indian tabla player, and Edgar Meyer, classical bassist, and a lot more, and a great Indian flutist, bansuri player named Rakesh Chaurasia. And then I'll be playing with the Flecktones, my group, Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, sort of, I guess you could call it a jazz group if your idea of jazz is a little open-minded. And I'll be doing concerts with Abigail, and I'll be doing some shows with orchestras, and recording some music, with new projects will be coming out, pieces that I've written for orchestra, an album of duets with Tumani Diabate, the great kora player from Mali.
Wow.
And I'm working on a new bluegrass record at the same time. So I've got a little too much going on.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I've got a almost 6-year-old and a 10-month-old.
That's what I'm thinking.
So life is very busy right now.
And also, Juno, you got to start him. I guess you started him already, didn't you not? Your little guy?
Juno?
Yes.
On banjo?
Yes.
Well, I'd like to, but he wants to be a golf pro.
Oh, well, that could happen too. Those things happen.
Says, Papa, you play banjo, I play golf. He's an amazing golf player. He's already won tournaments and stuff when he was 5 years old. So,
all right. Well,
so but now he's starting to want to sing and play a little. He said, "Papa, you can start showing me some music soon." So he likes to beatbox a little bit, and he plays drums, and he sings like a bird. So I think he'll be doing something.
Well, you got to let him find his way like you did. You didn't have a father that was telling you, you got to do this or that. You got to give him that chance. And your other one, you don't know yet, the little one.
No, but he is a very musical little kid. He's very responsive to play. And he comes over and grabs the banjo, and he doesn't bang on it. He plucks it beautifully. So it's interesting. He gets it. So I don't know. I have hopes for both of them, but I'm going to temper them with reality.
Yeah, what's that? I don't know what reality is anymore.
Well, just what you said. You have to let them find their own way. You can't press things on them. You have to let them find the things. You have to find the magic that turns them into something more than themselves. You know what I mean? Or ignites their inner self.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Happened for me. We were just talking about that a minute ago.
Right.
That genius that's in everybody. Like, it seems to me like everybody has something that they can just kick butt at, but they don't always find it, and they're not always encouraged at it. And sometimes it may not be looked at with a lot of value, the thing that might be your magical thing that's part of you. But I believe everybody has those gifts, and they should be encouraged, whether they're financially viable or not. They still should be encouraged as part of who you are and what you love.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir with me. The reason I think it's so important is when life hits up on these tough times, when people have that passion for something that they have a little genius for, that brings them through those tough times. And they got to have that.
Well, I agree, and it also gets you through to like a lot of the tough things about growing up, and being a teenager, and all of the terrible possibilities, like all the drugs and things that are out there. But if you're motivated, like if you're a sports kid or a music kid or a math kid or somebody who's got something that's just turning on your inner flame, you're more likely to survive that period, intact and ready to go have a great life.
I grew up 10 years before all that, and I really didn't confront it in the 50s. It was like a really peaceful time. So it
Yeah.
changed in the 60s, I guess. Because I don't
Yeah, it's worse now. I think it's very
Oh,
dangerous
very,
to be a kid.
very. I
So,
really worry. Yes, I really feel today about what's going on for the kids to role model. But they have you, and then you're probably a wonderful role model for a lot of these people who love music, and their parents are telling them, no, no, you can never earn a living doing that. But then they have your
well,
music.
I was told that. My teachers even told me that I shouldn't expect to be able to make a living, and I should learn to play a lot of instruments so I could be a multi-instrumentalist. And I was like, no, I just want to play the banjo. And I was just dumb enough to stick to my guns, and it's worked out. So I'm cautious about giving people advice because it doesn't work out for everybody. Like, not everybody who's talented and has that fire turns out to be able to have the kind of career where they can relax and enjoy it. So, you have to take it case by case, and there's a lot of things besides talent and ability that play into the personality, whether you can handle being on the road and the weirdnesses of the music business. You might find distasteful, or just, relationships are really tough. There's lots of things that make it really hard. It's not for everybody. So I just try to keep all of that in mind when I'm dispensing advice.
Yeah, me too. I know. I noticed a lot of times. I'd done some television for about 30 years. I noticed when I had musicians in the studio, there could be some real strife between them. Nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
They would be having these
Right.
inner emotional problems with each other. And some of the shows we never could air because they got angry or something. I saw that they could be very
yeah.
temperamental. And my son's an artist, and he's pretty two people in one, and I'm aware of a lot of what you're saying, but then I've lived quite a while, so that's given me some insight.
Yeah.
But
Well, sure.
I'm open.
Yeah, I've seen plenty. I've been in plenty of bands where it was not a peaceful band, and so it could blow up at any time, and it would.
That's what I've seen.
And I try to get out of those situations and try to be around people who are very positive and that are good at working out their differences, peaceably, and having a very sort of almost, I don't want to say transcendent experience together, something along those lines. We get into a place where we're just happy together and everything is wonderful.
Right.
And that's what you shoot for, and sometimes it works out.
So what's your plans for coming into town Saturday? When you're doing the Fairfield Quick Center, which is in the whole Westport, Bridgeport area, where you got the front page of the paper, so you can't say to people, well, no.
Well, I'm glad to be back there because the place has history for me, and I've been back there a couple of times now since we made that film there. But that film was a big, important documentary, live music film for the Flecktones, and it got our music into a lot of people's hands, and it helped grow our world bigger and bigger, and so it's nice to be back there, and it's nice to feel like I'm still doing things that I think have meaning. At least they do to me. And the music I do with Abby, I think, is really warm and special and connected to tradition. Unlike some of the things that I do, some of the things I do are pushing the edges pretty hard. This is a little more connected to it. It's two banjos on stage. Abby's a wonderful singer, and so you have us rippling, these kind of cross rippling currents of the two banjos together, and then this beautiful singing on top. And we just have a blast with the audience. We seem to be funny, apparently. We spend a lot of time laughing and cracking each other and the audience up and telling some stories and some jokes. But I'm mostly presenting the banjo in a legitimate way. It's a very banjo-centric show. We got maybe 8 or 10 banjos on stage that we keep passing around, trading around in different combinations. We've got low ones in their cello range, really deep, and we've got high ones like a ukulele banjo that's bright, and then baritone banjos. So every song has sort of a different combination of two banjos, and then we try to figure out how to serve the song with our instruments. And then of course we're going to blow it out and do some fancy banjo playing as well.
So a lot of this is on NPR. I mean, a lot of people have heard those interviews you've done on NPR, you and Abigail. And I caught one early in the morning within the last 2 weeks, and that's what really inspired me to be sure that you and I could talk. Those are wonderful. You're very connected to NPR, aren't you?
I don't know. It's one of the few conduits to get our music out to the people in the current world, and I just feel fortunate that they've covered me and Abigail as much as they have. You know, they have to keep on being fair about that coverage and spreading it around all the different people, and not just give that push to the same people over and over again. So I'm thankful that. I think the key is that I keep trying to do different things, so they have something they can write about. It's not like I'm just writing about Bela again and again, but without something different, a different story to tell. So that's always the trick with us, because it's one of the few conduits we have, so we don't want to overuse it either, because we have long careers, hopefully, and we don't, we want to be, but because there's very few ways to reach the world for people in our part of the world, and NPR has been really helpful.
Yeah, but don't forget about WPKN, which, I'm talking to you on WPKN is public radio for 75 years, all listeners supported, and I'm sure you're a big support there. I saw pictures of you jamming with Abigail. I've only seen video of it, so I know they'd be very receptive. It's a wonderful station.
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff for PLN in Nashville. We go where we live, and we're big fans of public radio.
And also WPKN in Bridgeport, it supports the Quick Center. So it's a sponsor. So this is why they were very interested in me speaking to you, Quick Center, when I talked to them. They said, "Oh yeah, yes, because Bela is part, it's here, and then PKN is our sponsor among many, and we'd love to have that happen." So that's how I got the chance to get through to you. So I hope we have a big audience Saturday night. I'm really looking forward to it. I think they'll be receptive to I think the jokes are important. I think people need to laugh. It's getting...
Yeah, we all need to laugh these days.
Right, we do. It's getting... And I'm really thinking about your children and how different it is now for children than when I was a child. And we need to make this a little bit more a happy time. These kids are having all this angst. I didn't even know what angst was when I was 15. I really didn't. I didn't have any angst. I didn't. It's
all tied to dependence on screens. Honestly, I just think that it's kind of eating everybody up. Everybody's stuck with a phone or a iPad in their face or a computer, and we're just not relating to each other, and it's making us unhealthy as a culture. To tell you the truth, since you mentioned it.
Well, I'm not very techie. They're always putting me down for it, because I'm not a real people person, and I talk to everybody because that's my New York part, and I met all kinds of people in my life, and I'm very rich that way.
So you're going to learn to play the banjo?
So I would love to play the banjo, but I'm too old. But maybe the ukulele before it's over. I might get that.
Yeah. Give it a shot. How about a ukulele banjo? That's halfway.
Oh, is there such a thing? Well, there are these banjo classes that seniors and people can take without much trouble in the libraries here, and it's not hard to come by a ukulele class.
We're gonna do a raffle at the Quick Center. Maybe you'll win. What we like to do at all of our shows is we like to pick a local nonprofit in every town we play in. And we donate all of our merchandise money, like our records and T-shirt sales. We give all the profits to that local nonprofit, and we also will raffle off a ukulele banjo at almost every show. And I know we're doing one at the Quick Center.
Ooh,
so for the folks that are thinking about coming, all you have to do is buy a T-shirt or a CD or something, and not only will it go to a great local nonprofit, it will also you have a chance to walk home with a ukulele banjo.
Ooh,
which I'll play during the show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a very lucky person, too, that way, so I have to try to be sure to do that. So that's another treat to look forward to. So, this may air, unfortunately, like the day you perform or the day after. So are there any other dates I can give people where you may come into the, radius of a couple of 100 miles of Connecticut? After.
Yeah. Can you hold on for a second while I look?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm going to pull out my calendar, because I think I do have some stuff coming up. Well, I'll be, let's see, where are we talking about? We're talking about...
Well, Bridgeport's near West... Southern...
How about Stores? I'll be Stores, Connecticut.
When?
Korea on... the 25th of April, coming right up.
Oh, that's my birthday. So, you know what theater? I mean, they have a couple of theaters there. Jorgensen, they have.
Yeah, it's at Jorgensen.
Right, the big one. How much fun? You have anything? That's about an hour and 45 minutes from where we are. But I mean, we
there.
get a lot of students here. It's a major university for the state.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure I'm going to be back this summer as well with the Flecktones in the Northeast. I'm taking a quick look to see if I can find any of those dates to tell you. It's all West Coast in June, but in July, Abigail and I will be. Oh, we're going to be in. Do you know what Washington, Connecticut is?
Sure do. That's a nice.
Yeah, we're going to be playing with the Palobolis Dance Company.
Oh, I know.
In August, they have a cute little festival there that we're going to be doing, and we'll be. Let's see. I think we're going to be in Katona, New York.
Yeah, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know Katona.
Yeah, Washington, Connecticut, Katona, and we'll be in Buffalo, Chautauqua, Lexington, Massachusetts. So yeah, if you just look at me and Abby's website, you'll see, or belafleck.com, and you'll see kind of what I'm up to. But I'm get through the area pretty regularly.
Well,
different projects that I'm doing.
A lot of people from here can go up to where Palobolis is because it's fun to go there. Washington, Connecticut is a wonderful place. They
have this beautiful Five Senses Festival, it's called, and I think it's in the last couple of weekends of July, and Abby and I are going to be there for the first couple of days, collaborating with the dancers.
Yeah, I've been in their studios. Even they have a wonderful art galleries, gunnery, a couple of private schools. I mean, it's such a great place to go for a ride. So I'll have to promote that idea that you're going to be in Washington, Connecticut with Palobolis. Palobolis is connected to Quick Center. They came and spent a whole week or something this fall. It was
in fact, I think we'll be meeting with them while we're there because they have that relationship, and we're talking about a collaboration and. With the Palobolis and us. And so that would be fun.
You do some computerized, like real strange music, right? I read that too, that you fooled around a little bit with that. Putting the computer with the instruments and...
That was way, 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 way back. That was back in the 80s that I did that, but I did some stuff where I played with the computer back and forth with the banjo, back when that was a new thing to do, before it became a very normal thing to do. With pop music, almost everything was computerized for a lot of pop tours now. But I do write a lot of music on the computer, and that would be like composing programs. So when I write for an orchestra and I'm writing for all the instruments, I need the computer to play it back for me so I can hear what I've written, because I don't have the kind of brain that can look at the musical notation and hear it in my head like a great classical composer would. But I can do a pretty good job if I can hear it back and alter it. So I use the computer for that.
That's a lot of skills that would take to do that. I didn't realize that you wrote for all those other instruments. They ought to be...
Yeah, I do. It's fun.
High school performing arts ought to be giving you some type of, recognition at some point for going forward. You've taken it a long way. And maybe you're too young yet. I don't know. But I'm thinking Palobolis is doing this thing with umbrellas that's connected to what they did at the last Olympics, where they had all these drones up in the sky. That were,
yeah.
Right?
That's so cool.
That's what they're doing with these umbrellas, and including anybody who wants to be in the public. It's really interesting, and that's what they did at the Quick Center. They came and did this real event where everybody participated. I went to do that, and you're going to have a good time. I'm going to look forward to that. Connecticut, Washington, Connecticut. And in Yukon, too. It's great. I'm so glad you told me because we can pass that along. That's all doable here.
Right. It's within the general location. Yeah. And I guess you get some areas, you get used to driving a little bit. In some places, you just stay home. Like bigger cities, people have a tendency, they won't even cross town to go hear somebody play if they're not playing near them. But in smaller towns, people are a little quicker to get in the car and go 45 minutes to hear something.
In the future, look at Hartford, Connecticut, too, because some really terrific things happen there. And I live in the southern part. That's where PKN is, in the southern part. But because I'm a theater critic, I'm in Hartford a lot. They do some terrific things in Hartford, Connecticut. I
think I'm going to be in Hartford during the next year. Maybe Bushnell Auditorium.
Oh, yes, it does. It's a beautiful place.
So, yeah. And I'm not sure if it's Flecktones or with Zakir Hussein, one or the other, but in the fall, I believe.
Oh, Bushnell is wonderful. They seat 3,500 people like it's nothing. People are wonderful audience. It's a wonderful audience there.
I think it's there.
And you'll love it. And then of course we have this wonderful theater, Goodspeed, but they mostly have these musical. Number one for musical theater anywhere is Goodspeed Opera House in East Hadlime, Connecticut. But they have these, shows that all the actors come up from New York City. They live there. The whole town is.
Right.
They have all the
That's
music.
right.
All the musical theater is there in a library. All the scripts and all the music and all the costumes from Broadway are stored there. Isn't that fabulous? Most people don't know that in
That's it.
in East Hadlime. It's a really important place. And so I'm saying thank you so much for taking this time. And
My pleasure. Nice to talk to you, and look forward to seeing you in a few days.
yes, and we'll add some music. David's a magician with David Schwartz, and he's engineering this. And he's the PKN guy, and he'll add some of your music into this. So when we air it, won't be just you and I talking. It'll be talking,
All right, perfect.
plus your music, and I'll come and say hello at the end of the concert. If you get a minute,
That'd be great.
I'll,
Absolutely. So yeah, hopefully you can get it out before the actual performance happens. Even day of will help them. That would be great.
well, we'll work.
And if not, we sure appreciate it. Whatever you do. Thanks very much.
Oh, we'll work at it. All right. Looking forward to saying hello and for you having a wonderful time here with Abigail and the
All right,
kids Saturday night, the
Take it
13th
easy.
of April. Bye
Nice talking to you.
Bye, Bela.
Bye-bye.
Bye.